Hey gamers, if you're ready to see the stars, discover new planets, and really make a name for your faction, then you ought to check out the Artemis Odyssey. In this game, players will take turns playing different planning cards onto the planning board, and these actions can be anything from producing, to traveling, to trading, and scoring, and building, and more. You will go to different planets in order to discover them and see what resources you can get from them, but you will only be able to produce resources on later actions if you have certain assets built on those planets, which you'll use the resources that you've collected in order to try and build them up. But you may need to take trading actions in order to trade with other players or with the bank to get the resources that you need to build those assets. Players will continue to travel around, and they will only be able to score when certain players play some scoring cards. Everybody will score off of anybody's card, but players will always have a choice in what they are saying that is going to score for that card. So hopefully they'll be giving themselves a lot of points and not a lot of points to the other players. Once somebody does hit 77 points, that'll trigger the end of the game, and the player with the most points will win. I thought this game was really interesting. I thought that it had a lot of moving parts that worked really well together. It's interesting that a lot of the planets start face down at all the different systems, so you have to travel and go see what is where to decide, what you want to produce on, and there's an interesting decision process there of whether you're going to leave your ships behind and try and build on a future turn in order to stay on a certain planet to make sure that you're always getting certain resources, or if you just kind of stop in, get a resource when you discover a new planet, and then move on to try and see what else is out there and what else you can kind of gain for yourself before deciding to build. I think it's interesting that players are going to take turns putting their action cards on that planning board, but everybody's going to be able to do something from every single card. It's not just going to be turn-based after that, so that's really interesting. And I like that for a lot of the actions, the player who did play that card does get a little bit more of a benefit. For example, you'll get to build 2 assets instead of 1 if you're the person who played the build card, or you'll be the only one who is allowed to trade during a trade action. So there's a lot of interesting decision-making space for those cards. And I really do like that how the scoring cards work. There's 4 different scoring cards, and like I said, everybody has a choice when they play one on what they want to score, so they'll score whatever is better for them. And then you actually can only play them once until you've played all 4, and then you'll get them all back again to hopefully be able to play again. But I think it's really interesting that the players are in control of all of the scoring in the game, other than a couple of buildings will give you points, some depending on where you build them, and some just a few points when you build them. So most of the scoring does come from those cards. And again, it's just interesting to see when players are going to play them because you're never quite sure. It's interesting to kind of gauge, oh, should I play a building card this turn, or is it maybe a waste because I think somebody else is going to play one, so maybe I should produce. Everything is hidden until that reveal of going in order through the cards, so it's just kind of like a guessing game, but also just trying to think about what your opponents might be trying to do in order to not put too many of the same actions out there at once. But I have also seen plays where everybody picks travel in the first 5 actions, so there's just a lot of moving around with not a lot else going on, so that's funny too when that does happen. The thing that I thought was a little bit weird was that whoever has control of the card, so for example, if you played a travel action, then you get to decide the order that the players go in. It doesn't just go around the table. And I thought that kind of slowed things down a little bit. It felt a little bit weird. And it kind of just made for the ability to gang up on players. Usually you're kind of trying to just lock out the person who's leading, but sometimes it can just be like, oh, you didn't trade with me last time, so now I'm not going to let you travel, even though you have the lowest score right now. So that can be a little bit frustrating, and it just seems a little bit weird to me. But other than that, I thought the game played really smoothly. I definitely recommend it at 3 to 5. The solo is okay, the 2-player is okay, but I think that 3 to 5 is really where the game takes off and really shines. So you can check out my full review on the blog today to see if this one might be for you.